your wine.
Alright, we've got for now anyway.
Yeah, bring the wine in.
I'm looking for one. Sorry, I'm just trying to work out the
Okay, I'm sorry.
Perfect, I love it. I've got to think about skinning up on
You said that you won a dance prize.
Yeah. I don't know how I learned to dance, because as I said, when I went to the sort of youth clubs and places, I could dance to the rock and roll. And I didn't know how to dance to that really, I just watched other people and And I realised that to dance to this soul stuff, all you have to do is sort of, move your feet from side to side and just flick them out occasionally.
You should have been teaching me.
What
do you mean by flicking it out?
Well, sort of when you get, because it's a sort of side to side dancing really, is soul. And that's all you need to know. You start that side, you finish that side, and you go back again. And then you just do that by shuffling your feet really. And if you've got a sort of dance floor that's reasonably smooth and slippy, your feet can just glide along. And when you get to the end of a row, you can sort of just flick your toe out.
How did that weird form of dancing start? Why, like that, not dancing with anybody else? What do you think that's about? That nobody dances with anybody else?
Partners.
Yeah, there's almost like, me and Ellen were talking about it, it's like secret dancing. Like you do sort of communicate with people, but it's almost like you secretly communicate with them. You get a sort of vibe of them on the dance floor, but you don't acknowledge it.
I think there's maybe someone a bit, older people than us who might be able to answer that. That's something that came out of 60s dancing really. Up to then, up to the the 50s and the early 60s, you danced with a partner, whether it be rock and roll, jiving or whatever. And suddenly the 60s came along, and 60s club and beat clubs, said that you didn't have to do that anymore. You could dance on your own. But where that changed into, the individuality of Northern Soul dancing, I really don't know. People would say, well, it came from, watching black artists, on TV performing soul records. The original artists playing, the Atlantic stars or the Motown stars, James Brown, people like that. I'm sure a lot of the more sort of acrobatic dancing was copied from a lot of the stars, over in the States at the time, who incorporated that dancing into their acts.
My weaknesses, you remember, starts a very quick one. July 7, 8 and 9 is the Whitby Soul Weekender. Tickets are available next week. So wherever you buy your tickets, whether it's off the internet or from a particular dealer, they are available from next week. From the Rochelle 5 with Snowy and Friends.
We started going to Northern Soul events, which had proper dancers there. People who they weren't just dancing side to side and flicking the feet out. They were actually doing acrobatics. And sort of. They were doing acrobatics, handstands, backdrops, and splits, and sort of moving around in a sort of pommel thing, and then sort of flicking over again. Which I thought was fantastic.
Demonstration, yeah.
So of course, I thought, being a sort of teenager who wanted to impress, I thought, well, the thing to do is learn how to do this. How I learned to do it was just by practicing on the floor. So I knew all you had to do was sort of get into the right part of the record, dance, go down into the half splits, pull your legs around and into a backdrop, absolutely easy. So I tried to perfect that. I perfected it so well. We went to an all-day Northern Soul event, but it wasn't particularly glamorous. It wasn't, nationally known. It was at Water Lane Youth Club.
I know that place.
And they were playing soul all day. And as part of this competition, they had part of the soul all day. They had a dance competition, and it was all local guys. It wasn't it was only the sort of young lads of our age who attended. So we were all about 14 or 15, maybe 16. I don't quite know. So you know, people didn't come from far and wide to enter this dance
Assuming
competition.
there's only you in it.
Yeah. Well, I've been,
George, pick yourself up.
So what do you want the prize?
Pick yourself up, man.
but there was about 10 guys entered it, and it was one of those competitions whereby the crowd, I think it was the crowd sort of applauded to get to eliminate people every record. So one record was played.
Smacking it up.
So the final record was played. It was head to head. Me and Greylong. He was a bit of a stomper. He did a front to back dance rather than side to side.
What does front to back
Flip.
mean?
He, like John was doing today, stomping, shuffling his feet a lot. So he likes really fast records.
Yeah.
And so it's me and him. We both tried a bit of acros. At the end of it, they gave me the nod, and I got a really good prize actually. I got a 12-inch version on white vinyl of the Wigan Joker 6x6 as a prize.
What's that?
It was a really awful record.
It's red vinyl.
Red vinyl, I think red vinyl from the back.
You can buy it back off me for a tenner if you want it.
Why was it a Northern Soul record?
It wasn't a genuine Northern Soul record. It's a Northern Soul record that had been produced for the Northern Soul scene.
And then did you really get into dance after that? Like get excited about dance?
Yeah, and then I started, going to Wigan Casino really regularly for when I got to about 16, 17. And then I did the acrobatics all the time then, but all I did was this one splits backdrop
Because it
sort of
worked.
thing, because it worked and that's what I could do, yeah.
And did the women do acrobatics?
Yeah, well, they sort of span a little bit, really.
But they didn't go into like back bends
No.
and splits and
No,
Why
not
don't
really.
women do backbends?
I mean, some girls could do the splits, certainly, yeah, and some girls did lots of high kicks, and so yeah, they did
high kicks.
high kicks, yeah, if they were wearing the right stuff. If you did the splits, not local girls who I did, but certainly in casino. The Northern Soul, for me, when we were younger, was a passion, but there was a series of events that led a lot of people to leave Northern Soul in the early 80s, and that's because the big club that you went to dance to at Wigan Casino closed down.
But why did it close down?
The premises were very, very old, and I think owned by the local council in the end, and they had better things to do with the site rather than keep it. It was a huge old dance hall that had been there for I don't know, possibly 100 years, that was falling down literally, and it would have cost an absolute fortune to bring it back up to sort of the maintenance standards that you'd need. So they
And the drugs.
Yeah, and yeah, as well, people in the local communities were aware that along with Northern Soul came a drug culture and people taking drugs, and that was not necessarily a good thing to have on your doorstep. And Wigan, I'm sure the local councillors in Wigan didn't like it any more than anyone else did. That's a long way to go and dance, if you have to travel 100 miles to get there, and some people a lot further than that. And it was the old blueies and the bombers, all the sort of drugs that used to be taken from the 60s. But more and more, it was just sort of pure amphetamine sulfate. Really. People kept them awake. Sometimes people had bad nights on it. Some people were okay.
What do you actually think Northern Soul is for you?
What is it for me?
Yeah, because it's something like inside of yourself. Is it
Yeah.
something that like whatever?
I think it's a number of things. I think it's something that I hang on to as being a link to the past that makes me feel warm and secure. It's also it's a means of escape for me. To escape from the life I'm living in. We all share this nostalgia to have got back into it, and when the opportunity did come in sort of 99, and Andy and I had probably been talking to you for a couple of years, talking about doing it, and we said, well, let's just fucking go then. Let's go to one of these dudes instead of talking about it, and we booked tickets to go to Fleetwood, which I think was 99. And I just said, right, let's pay for it. Go. We got there the first. I was quite nervous.
It's very nice, that one.
I mean, not that I'd see people I knew, because I'd lost touch with everyone who I maybe knew when I was 19 anyway. I wouldn't recognise people. Although I did recognise a few people. I thought, well, I'm sure I know them from years ago. But we walked in, I remember on the first night. We were all quite nervous. I've been walking in the doors in a big hall that was just packed with people. It was, And honestly, it was quite moving for me because I heard that sort of sound. There's a certain sound of Northern Soul, not a particular record, but a sound when it's been blasted through a big hall and there's people on the dance floor. And it only, sent sort of shivers down my spine when I walked in and thought, God, what do we do? What do all these people? And I felt a bit out of place. I thought, well, these people have been doing it for years. And I felt like a bit of an imposter, as if, what right did I have to sort of just decide, I'm going to go back and enjoy a bit of that. These people, some of them obviously had been doing it, continually.
I was just saying, yeah.
And I felt, I just dipped into it for a few years, dipped out, and I was going to dip in again. I did feel a little bit of guilt like that. And it's taken me until now to realise that the music sort of belongs to everyone. We were talking about it today.
Yeah.
No one has a right to own it. No one owns Northern Soul. No one owns it, and no one has a right to say, you can't be here. I maybe shared that attitude to a certain extent, saying that, if you didn't go to Wigan or the clubs before that, then how can you be into it? And that was misplaced. That attitude was wrong. It was totally wrong because it is music that was made before most of the people who claim to be into it were old enough to go and dance to it anyway.
Right.
So it belongs in the US, and to the people who listened to it at the time. But it also belongs to everyone else now because we play it and listen to it. And it doesn't matter whether you're 16 now or 60. It's music to enjoy.